There have been moments when it felt like the day would never dawn. But Saturday will see the conclusion of the Labour leadership contest when the winner is finally announced. Given its fractious nature, though, and the transformation of Jeremy Corbyn from token lefty into hot favourite, it would take optimism of Pollyanna-ish proportions to believe that whoever wins will be presiding over a party of peace and harmony. Newsnight's political editor, Allegra Stratton, has been exploring the possible ramifications of the whole chaotic contest.
We can change the course of our history.
Today the ballots have closed for the election of Labour's 18th leader. Years ago, this moment when Tony Blair won the role is etched in Labour's folk memory. Jeremy Corbyn would have been watching, and he just will not have dreamed that one day he could be this man's successor. 21 years ago, here in this very room, Tony Blair became Labour leader. Since then, his successors have been defined by him, but now that era is over. This weekend, Jeremy Corbyn looks highly likely to become Labour leader, and even if he doesn't, he's already dragged the party to the left. Labour is about to go back to the future. In this contest, Liz Kendall was the standard bearer for the Blairites. Today, she was resigned to the left, taking over.
Whatever happens on Saturday, we need to seriously reflect on what has happened during the leadership contest. Because even if Jeremy Corbyn doesn't win, his campaign has mobilised and enthused vast numbers of people in a way we haven't seen for decades.
She urged cooperation but asked for kindness from Corbyn too.
If Jeremy Corbyn wins, it would be a huge mistake not to accept that result as legitimate. The voters will have made their decision, and the rest of us must accept it as such. Second, whoever is elected must recognise no leader has a mandate for untrammelled power.
Like Kendall, her audience was convinced that Jeremy Corbyn had won. How long's Jeremy Corbyn got?
I think he's got 2.5 weeks.
Well, I think the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. We'll have a better answer to that question after a fortnight or so.
How does it feel that you are the person they least want to be leader?
Not great.
Why is that? Why, when you set out with the messages you set out with, did you not think, I need to tailor my messages?
I don't do this because I don't do this because I want to be loved. I do it because I want to change the world and because I want to kick the Tories out. I don't do it for any great, I want people to somehow love me. I mean, obviously that would be nice, but I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. And that's just who I am.
What a contrast with this morning's Kendall event. Here's Jeremy Corbyn now arriving. He may only have the support of some 20 MPs within Parliament. The other 200 voted for somebody else. But it's this energy that buys him time.
So this inspiration that's been the last 100 days doesn't end on Saturday. Saturday is simply one staging post in it, that we change politics in Britain. We challenge the narrative that only the individual matters, the collective is irrelevant.
If Jeremy Corbyn wins, expect plots to get rid of him, but not straight away. In the event he is their new leader, MPs think they have enough numbers to move against him, but they wouldn't have the support of their party members. So what would happen next? The immediate decisions: who gets the jobs? The contenders for Shadow Chancellor are John McDonnell, Michael Meacher, Angela Eagle and John Trickett. It's likely to be Eagle to ensure a woman is at the top table. On Monday, 48 hours in, his first meeting with the whole parliamentary party. Does he offer critics big roles? Do these MPs flounce off or make friends? If they serve, they have to answer the Newsnight question. Do you think Jeremy Corbyn can be Prime Minister? If they serve, how to agree policy. Policy reviews will park disagreements. Labour Party conference could see votes for the party to scrap Trident and oppose welfare reform. And next May, if Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party doesn't do well, do his critics rise up? This evening, many were convinced Corbyn had won, but if he doesn't win, Andy Burnham's leadership would be more likely to take account of the left's soar-away success. Yvette Cooper would sideline Corbyn. Whoever wins on Saturday, the last 100-odd days has been some of the most extraordinary in Labour's 100-odd years.
And joining me now to discuss this are the writer and Guardian columnist Zoe Williams and the Times columnist and former speechwriter to Tony Blair, Phil Collins. Phil, we'll start with you. No one could claim it has been pretty. Has it been useful?
No, it's not even been particularly useful. I think the Labour Party needed an argument about why it lost the election, and it hasn't had that argument. It lost the election because it had a leader who wasn't viable as Prime Minister, and it had an economic policy that wasn't credible. And it's decided, having said to the electorate, would you like ham and eggs? The electorate says no. It says, well, here's double ham and eggs. It's going to double down and do the same again. So it's not been a particularly useful process.
How would a contest without Corbyn have made that argument more likely?
It wouldn't necessarily have done that, because I think one of the things you have to say if Corbyn wins is the other candidates have not inspired the field. So no one can say the other candidates were marvellous. And if Corbyn wins, he wins authentically, and he's got the most votes. But it would have been easier, I think, to have had a policy discussion, because the whole process was dominated by Jeremy Corbyn and new members. So that's not to say there's nothing wrong about that, but if you wanted a policy argument about the direction of the Labour Party, that really
we need to start that conversation now, whatever the result might be on Saturday, the future direction of the Labour Party. Philip describes a vista that's all clouds. Can you see any silver linings, Zoe?
I disagree slightly with that analysis. We didn't lose because...
I disagree slightly with the notion that we're going to have a post-mortem of the campaign now. I want to move on to what the Labour Party has to do next, regardless of who wins, because you have this resurgent left now, but that previously silent, some would argue, and you have a spooked centre and a spooked right of the party.
The truth of it is, if it had been those three candidates and Corbyn hadn't come in, I think we would have been looking at a PASOKification of the Labour Party. There was no hope and no vision and nothing there. And that, you can have as many policy conversations as you want. If you're not actually inspiring anything hopeful in people, then the party isn't going to take you anywhere.
So therefore, it must be the case then, Zoe, that you think the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn will do better at a general election than it would do under any of the other three candidates.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't
you
think
really
they wouldn't have won an election.
So when we're back here in a couple of years...
So who do you think would have won an election out of those people?
I'm not saying any of them would have won an election.
Well, there we go then. Why don't you actually try having a conversation about what the party should be rather than who should win?
Rather than winning an election.
The whole problem...
Well, that's the crux of the whole point.
You don't want to have that conversation about who would win an election.
But listen, power...
You want to have a different
conversation.
conversation.
We've had power at any cost for 20 years.
You don't want to have power then?
Well, you can ask me that a lot of times, or you can listen to me. It's up to you.
I'm asking you, would you like to have power?
Why don't I just tell you what I was going to say? Okay, so you can have...
If it's the answer to that question.
Phil, you can have power at any cost, or you can have actually a genuine values-based conversation about what you're there for.
Just hang on, Phil.
We've done power at any cost for a long, long time, and its efficacy has been depleting over time to the point where we couldn't win an argument against the coalition government. For God's sake, it's not working. Why don't you just have a conversation about what you're there for before you worry about power?
I think the notion that it's power at any cost is just really silly. A bit of an insult to a Labour government that did loads of things that Labour governments have always been trying to do. So it's a bit strange to say of those 13 years of Labour government, there was nothing in them worth it.
Hang on, I feel like an interloper here, but I insist on being involved, if that's all right. The right of the party, what should they do? If Corbyn does go over the line first, should the people cooperate with him? Should your chums like Tristram Hunt, should they be on side? Should they be serving in a Corbyn shadow cabinet, or should they start moving immediately to excise him?
I don't think they should move immediately to excise him. I think you have to respect the fact that the Labour Party has chosen him. I think he will have a mandate to be the leader, and I think you have to respect that with a certain amount of grace, and you have to let him be the leader. But I don't think that people who believe that, their beliefs are so far from Jeremy Corbyn, I don't think they can realistically serve in his shadow cabinet. Just as Jeremy Corbyn would not have answered the call from Tony Blair to serve in the cabinet, because he would have said, no, that offends the principles I have. I want to be a member of this party, but I don't want to be a member of this government.
Can you see the party splitting?
No, I don't think the party will split.
Hang on, where does that confidence come from? Because you describe a party, it's almost impossible to see some of these people sharing a platform, let alone a party.
I don't think the party will split, because I don't think that anybody of the stature of Roy Jenkins, David Owen, Shirley Williams would want to do that, because the example they've got, the SDP, they know that actually flouncing off and starting up your own thing is actually a frivolous thing to do.
So-
that the Labour Party has a bedrock legacy vote, and actually you've got to stay and fight within it.
What if someone else wins?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's interesting.
Thank
I
you.
can't see it. If somebody else wins, I mean, I actually asked Clive Lewis this last weekend. Would they start another party? Because it is obvious that they are very, very far removed from the central tranche. They're very far removed from the high command as it is and as it has been for a long time. I can't see them going back in their box, and I can't see them being subsumed into the Labour picture under any of the others. That would be an interesting. I wouldn't, I would watch that with bated breath.
Can I ask you, do you think Jeremy Corbyn could win? Do you think he's a viable Prime Minister
Could
in
win an
2020?
election.
The general election.
Yeah.
Got literally no idea. But, if you'd asked me if Alex Tsipras could win a Greek election, I would have said I really don't think so.
Very briefly, why are you so certain he can't?
Because everything I know about British politics tells me when the Labour Party shifts to the left, it struggles to win the affection of the British people.
I know, but Phil,
Hang on, that's the first. We are actually out of time. I'm going to let you two carry on, actually. I'll crack on with the programme. Zoe Williams, Phil Collins, thank you very much indeed. Do we have time for a look at the papers? Very briefly, The Times, David Cameron warns that Jeremy Corbyn will put Britain at risk. The Telegraph, meanwhile, reports that Mr Corbyn is looking forward to the job. A lot of presumption going on, and The Independent takes it further, telling us that the revolt against his leadership has already begun. The Guardian, meanwhile, warns of burned-out doctors ready to quit the NHS. And that's almost it for tonight. In 48 hours, we will know who the new leader of the opposition is, and the outside world might then be asking, Jeremy who? In Taiwan, their world-famous animators have been taking a stab at explaining. Good night.
但它到底是何方神圣？根据保守党媒体说法，它是列宁、马克思和托洛斯基的3P 产物。从1983年开始担任国会议员的他，对预算态度强硬，主张废除英国核武。如果顺利当选，更会对伊朗鞠躬道歉。除了他的招牌胡子，英国选民会不会选一名极左派首相，大家都在观望。除了以下情况：如果川普2016年当选美国总统，科尔宾在2020年当选英国首相，两国关系就再也不特别了。